All right, so if you do have an LS400 and your steering wheel adjustment, your tilt column is making that grinding gear noise, so one thing I really like about this car is the steering wheel will automatically adjust to the driver's position based on the key. And the driver positioning. So it'll automatically drop down to your position, except for right now it's broken. And it just tried to drop down, but it won't. If we manually try to do it, we get that gear whine. So it's the motor in here. We're gonna take a look at it and see. I've got a theory of what it is, and it's the gears worn out and it's shifted over, and you have to put a spacer in there to shift it back to where it's supposed to be, and maybe this will work. I also have a feeling the motor itself is dying, but we're gonna go through there, clean it all out, and get that gear line back up, and hopefully get a little bit more life out of this motor. And there's actually two more. There's one here and one over here. All right, then just gently pull down this side here to get it loose, and then you can wiggle it out over this here. I'm gonna need two hands to do that though. All right, now that we got this panel out, this is where we need to get into. So it's these three 8mm here, but in order to do that, you also gotta get this out of the way, which is one singular 10 right there. All right, now we can take this little cover off. Notice there's some grease and up there. And you can also see, if we look this way, it's not quite lined up. And let's see what it's doing with the key on. To see. See, when you go up, it's pulling the gear out, so it's activating, and when you go down, it's pushing it, and it's sliding in, and it's being an issue. Now, this right here is a bolt. I believe that's also a 10mm. We'll crack that loose, pull this gear out, and we'll put a spacer behind it. Yeah, it is a 10mm, so I just cracked it loose. I'll go ahead and take, don't lose it. Put it down there. Same with the washer, don't lose that. And we're gonna try to have to get that gear out. Now I might need to go get a couple picks so I can get in there and take that out. All right, so here's the gear that we got out. There's the little slot. Now this is a directional gear, so if you look, you can see that the one side, left side, is higher than the right side. So, you know, where my thumb at right here, that's the side that originally was facing forward, but if we flip it, left side's still higher than the right side. So I think we can put this either way. And this gear's a little worn on just the corners here. So I'm going to attempt to flip it when we put it back together and see if that gives me a little bit stronger of a connection. Right, so this is what I found. I found this little washer, and let me, hang on, put this down here. So it's like that. So I found this washer, and if we go, it's big enough to get over the long side, but it's still small enough that it's gonna touch this base no matter where it's at. So it should space it out. And we're just gonna go ahead and slip the smooth round side facing out so that it's not catching this little gear. And then we'll go ahead and push that gear back in. Spread some of this grease around. It's kind of hard now. Make sure it gets in all the actual gear. We don't need it in the ridge there. We need it in the actual teeth of the gear. So we're just gonna do that. And then we're gonna go ahead and put the washer and the nut back on. Tighten this back down. All right, now let's try it. Oh, and it works again. All right, the motor is still like overheating really fast, so it doesn't work for long, but I got the motion back somewhat. So that'll be a fix for now until we go and do the whole motor. That'll be next, but at least now I've got some functions. I just gotta kind of wait in between time I adjust it. That's been like that for a while, but I just gotta put it all back together. Back in place, just gotta put a couple screws in and we're good. All right, so if you do have an LS400 and your steering wheel adjustment, your tilt column is making that grinding gear noise like you heard in the beginning of this video, check this first. My gear ended up actually being okay, and from a lot of other videos and a lot of other people's reviews and comments, it seems like that's kind of norm, that the gear itself is actually okay. It's just, there must have been like a plastic or some kind of rubber spacer that eventually wears out and moves. Now you can get this gear on eBay from what I've heard. I haven't looked because mine was fine, but if you do have a 96, 97, 98 LS400 and your tilt column makes that noise, do what I just did here, and overall time about 35 minutes to fix it. So not a big deal to fix, and you could save yourself a lot of money, because a shop is going to quote you the whole motor assembly, which is a lot more expensive. They're like $700 in the factory, and like even aftermarket they're like $400 plus the labor and all that. So save yourself some time, save yourself some money. Check this first before it gets out of hand. Till next time, guys, peace.